just because you are a real estate professional doesn't mean that your next venture or your side hustle or whatever else has to be in real estate. It can be tangential or it could be totally unrelated. That's okay. If there's anything I've learned this year in 2020 is that being diversified has been an absolute blessing because you can't predict what will happen.
So the question is this: how do most agents who don't have access to the secrets the top agents in our industry hoard themselves grow and prosper in today's real estate market? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Hi, I'm Aaron Muchastegui, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. Real Estate Rockstars, this is Aaron Muchastegui coming to you with a very exciting episode today. Today, I get to interview Miss Lisa Song Sutton. Lisa has a really, really cool bio when I get to do the intro. It is not very often that I get to introduce somebody who is an entrepreneur, a real estate investor, former Miss Nevada in the United States, former congressional candidate in Nevada's 4th District, and many other things. There's so many different businesses that she's involved in, as an entrepreneur, and getting to talk about real estate and some of those other things today. Lisa, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So right now you live in the Las Vegas area?
I do. Yes. Sin City.
Yes. So when did you get into real estate?
I'd always been around it. So my parents, my father was retired military, and my mother owns a hair salon and some business ventures. But they got into real estate investing when I was growing up. They started in residential and then moved over to commercial. And so I think like most kids, I paid no attention to what my parents did growing up.
Yeah.
And by the time I was in college and then subsequently into grad school, I realized that my parents were making some pretty significant real estate moves. And so I started paying attention. And so between that, coupled with my law school background, I ended up working for a law firm here in Las Vegas that to this day still does business litigation and business bankruptcy. And so I was able to kind of see firsthand, when these assets go up for sale, I mean, you're talking raw land, you're talking residential, SFRs, you're talking commercial assets, motels, I mean, all kinds of stuff, warehousing. And so it piqued my interest. And I got involved pretty much when I turned 18. I started kind of dabbling around with family stuff, did my first solo real estate transaction at 26. And then from there, I realized, hey, like this is something that I want to have in my business portfolio as an investor, as someone to be involved in real estate. So I got my license. I was with Sotheby's for 5.5 years and then brought the Christie's to Las Vegas.
Oh, very cool. So I knew you're part of Christie's. That's a big luxury brand. I mean, one of the things you were telling me off market is on the Christie's website. I mean, those are listings that are at least $1 million. So super high end. And it wasn't in Las Vegas before you brought it there?
That's correct. So, like I said, I'd started my real estate career with Sotheby's, which is, an excellent brand. Obviously, their roots were in the Sotheby's auction house. And after 5.5 years, for me personally, I realized there was no pathway for growth for me within that particular brokerage here in Las Vegas. And so I was talking to a real estate mentor of mine out of New York, John Chang. He's amazing. He used to own the Remax in Manhattan, like for decades. The guy's a legend. And so I was chatting with him and he said, well, why don't you make a move? And I said, where would I go? I mean, Sotheby's is such a great brand. Where else would I go? Like, I'm not going to go to like Coldwell Banker, And he said, why don't you go to Christie's? And I said, there is no Christie's in Las Vegas. And he was like, you better find out why.
Yeah.
So I called Christie's in Beverly Hills. And then they routed me to New York. That's where Christie's North America headquarters is. It's in Rockefeller Center in New York City. And they gave me a very Christie's answer. They said, well, we only enter tier 1 cities.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You're like, so what's tier 1 mean?
Yeah. So this is like several years ago. And I'm looking and, I realized here in Southern Nevada, your money goes very far. And at that time, our median sell price, I think, was $220,000 in the Las Vegas area. So needless to say, it didn't qualify as tier 1 for Christie's. And I said, well, look, maybe we're not tier one according to your criteria yet, but at that time, the Vegas Golden Knights had just gotten started. So we just got our first major sports franchise. The Raiders were still a rumor at that time. And I said, look, we're on our way to becoming a tier one city. So let me come meet you in person and tell you why you should get in on the ground level now. And they were just
Wow.
like, who are you?
Yeah. You're like, we're supposed to say no. When we say it's not a tier one, you're supposed to go away, and you're not going away, Lisa.
Exactly. And so I flew to New York and then I flew to London. And I pitched Christie's and I said, you need to be in Las Vegas. Maybe we're not tier one yet, but we're on our way, I promise. And there's a lot of new exciting development happening. There's a lot of growth happening in the city. We're getting a lot of people who are moving to Las Vegas that have money that are coming from high tax states like California, Hawaii, New York. So you need to be here, you need to get in on the ground level, and you need me to run it. And that was a few years ago.
That was a few, and your pitch worked. So that's really interesting. You know, a lot of our listeners, as they go through different points, there's a lot of times people are making a shift from one brokerage to another, from one brand to another. But this is the first story I think I've heard on here of saying, hey, I really wanted to open a brand and they didn't have it. So I had to go convince somebody to let me open their brand in my place. So for you guys that are listening, as you're looking out there and you're thinking about starting a new brand, a new brokerage, don't let the fact that no one is in your city yet be what stops you. Like Lisa was able to make some big things happen just by kind of going and asking and really pushing her case. So you started real estate kind of dabbling at 18, did your first transactions at 26. Now you're running the Christie's. How many agents do you have at the Christie's? How many transactions do you guys do a year?
Yeah, so we're small boutique. We're quality over quantity. We only take full-time agents.
Okay.
So none of this, part-time, this and that, dabbling around. We only take serious full-time agents. So we're a small boutique team. We have 11 really, really strong top producers. And our average agent runs about 44 transactions a year at an average of 22 million in volume, in sales volume. So I mean, it's a well-oiled machine. And actually, so here we are on a Monday morning call. Every Monday morning at 8 a.m., we have what's called a pipeline call with our residential team. And we sit down and we go through agent by agent what they have going on with listings, what they have going on with buyers, what they have going on with any renters, if they are working with renters or investors. And then we talk about what hurdles they're experiencing this week in particular, and the whole team chimes in. And I love that cohesion because I feel like it's very unique, especially in luxury. You don't see a lot of collaboration, even if it's in-house, even if it's in the same brokerage. You don't see a lot of collaboration. And so we're very protective of our agent culture, where we want to have team players on the team, even though everyone is a top producer.
Yeah. So you've got a lot of rock star agents over there. So if someone is just getting into real estate, will you guys take them on as an agent and help train them? Or are you only hiring people that have experience somewhere else first?
We absolutely will take on a brand new, kind of clean slate, newly licensed agent. We actually just onboarded a brand new agent last week. Her name's Andrea Weaver. She came to us from the hospitality industry.
Okay.
So here in Las Vegas, I mean, this is a full service city, right? Anything you want, white glove, 5-star, it's here in Las Vegas. And what I really like about Andrea in particular is that her background is truly customer service, right? Her background is in hospitality, food and beverage, and what she knows is customer service. What she doesn't know is real estate, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah. What about, there's probably a big opportunity right now with, one of the things that COVID has had happen, right, is hospitality industry. It's just taken the biggest hit, right? And hotels.
Awful. Yeah,
and there's
awful
great
here.
general managers of hotels and different hospitality industries that are out of a job right now, or that aren't being, that are
they're
probably
furloughed or whatever.
Yes, what a great hire to be able to find some people like that and bring them onto your team, bring them into your business and say, hey, you're already in the people industry. You're already in the problem solving industry. You're already used to people yelling at you and being happy with you and trying to make it better.
You have to be resourceful.
You've got skills, like come over into real estate. What a really cool thing as a transition for somebody that has been in hospitality. And I think now maybe there's going to be a lot of that this year, because I know there's a lot of great hospitality talent. We've tried to figure out how we can get some of them to join some of our businesses to know, hey, they're really good at running businesses. What else can they help with? Because hotels just aren't very full right now.
Right.
I flew to Phoenix for Thanksgiving, and the plane was only 25% full. I think that we didn't wait in any lines. Went to go rent cars. It was like people are not really going out yet, or maybe people were just not going out because it was Thanksgiving and everybody said don't travel. But I don't know how long it's going to take. Yeah, I don't know how long it's going to take for planes and hotels to get full again. So do you still do transactions yourself, or is it now do you just run your team?
So I no longer do solo transactions myself. Of course, I still have clients from the times that I was working. And so now what I do is I have some of our lead agents. If I need to be hands-on with the transaction and the client, there's that relationship there where I need to be around with that client, I'll be around, but there's an understanding that it's done with the team. And so for me, making that transition from agent or producer to brokerage owner. My partner with the Elite Homes Christie's here, her name is Catherine Kuo. She's amazing. And part of our partnership agreement when we decided to go into business together and work the Christie's here, I said, I don't want to be a selling owner because I know what that's like to compete against your owner for business. It sucks. And you lose every time. I know what that's like. It's really, really hard, and it doesn't foster the type of environment that we want to grow. And so I said, look, I'm fine with taking a longer journey in scaling if that means that I'm not working solo transactions, but instead are handing them out to our agents and backing them up and serving as their mentor. And really, frankly, I help with all the transactions, right? Somewhere I have to touch everything. If I'm, helping us obtain a listing appointment, or if I'm there on the back end to help, with an open house, whatever it is, I'm there to help support and mentor. And that's been the magic formula for us. We've been able to attract top producers who are comfortable with that type of culture and realizing, hey, this is an opportunity for me to grow and shine instead of having to be in the shadow of the owner of the brokerage and having to compete for that business if someone cold calls the office because they want to work with Christie's, right? And all of a sudden the owner is the one who wants their name on the listing. That's not the case here.
Yeah, that's there are a lot of different, there's politics to real estate. There's politics to real estate teams and how it all works, and being able to create an awesome culture. It sounds like you guys have done a great job with that, and that's how you can continue to grow. And even, being able to have agents that have been around a long time and agents that are new, all kind of focusing on that luxury brand is very, very cool. Hi, Real Estate Rockstars. This is Aaron Amuchastegui, and I am so excited to share with you our newest head podcast sponsor. And this is a company called RentRedi. RentRedi is a landlord-tenant software that has everything you need to manage your rentals from your phone or your computer. No need to be tech savvy, download multiple programs, or hire a specialist. RentRedi is easy to use for everyone. And if you do have a question, their customer support team is available to make sure managing your properties doesn't have to be harder than it already is. RentRedi has a feature for every step of the landlord process. You can list your vacancy for free to Realtor.com and doorsteps, find quality tenants with a full tenant screening process, send and e-sign leases right from the app, and track maintenance requests. Yes, there really is one app for all of that. Best of all, not only is RentRedi easy to use with awesome customer service, but it's affordable as well. Get a subscription of RentRedi for as little as $1 a year when you sign up for their annual plan using code ROCKSTAR. Right? Now that's crazy. $1 a year. Why wouldn't you go sign up just to see, even if you've got one tenant or want to try it with one of them? So that's right. You get a whole year of RentRedi for just $1 when you sign up at rentredi.com. It's spelled RENTREDI.com using code ROCKSTAR. So you were former Miss Nevada. Were you former Miss Nevada before you got into real estate?
Yes.
So,
Yeah. So I was Miss Las Vegas 2013, and that was around the same time that I had onboarded with Sotheby's. And then I won the Miss Nevada United States pageant in May of 2014, and it was just a crazy time. I mean, at the brokerage office, everyone had to screen calls because we'd get crazies who wanted Miss Nevada to show them houses, and we were like, no, we're not doing that.
Oh my! So you had just started in real estate in Nevada, and it was like I could imagine that changing around. So they had to make sure people weren't just specifically asking for you.
Yeah, we'd have to screen them, right? I mean, anytime we take out a buyer, there's got to be proof of funds or that they've got, a lender letter that they're actually a qualified buyer, right? Not some like looky-loo who's like weird going to stalk me. So we had to take some precautions.
How interesting! People say, it's like you all of a sudden are famous, right? And that should really help in real estate. But it's true. That doesn't always convert into sales or even safety. How random.
Right.
So
absolutely.
Did your real estate business blow up after that? Did you get after people were screened? Did you get a bunch of people that you got to represent through that, or was it? How did being former Miss Nevada help you or hurt you in real estate?
Yeah. So, and of course it was helpful because there was that kind of initial like, oh, that's intriguing, or like that's something that sets me apart, right? But really, and I talk about this in a TEDx talk that I did a couple years ago. The real value I got out of that experience when it came to direct business relationships was the fact that I did nearly 500 community appearances. I was volunteering in schools, reading in hospitals, working with countless nonprofits. So guess what? I was out and about in the community, shaking hands and kissing babies and talking to people. Right. So inevitably it would come up. Oh, well, what else do you do besides this whole Miss Nevada thing? And then that was my opportunity to tell them about real estate and talk to them about investing. And it was just this really organic form of networking that came about because I was running around town with a sash and crown on, volunteering.
Yeah. I bet all agents could take that a little bit to say, like, there's just by being involved in your community, like you had a really easy, like easy is the wrong word, but you had a way that all of a sudden you got involved with a whole lot of different volunteering right away. Right. You could instantly get in the door of many different places. But if people are trying to grow their business or they're new into real estate and they're new into a community, the being able to just go volunteer and do outreach and finding the places where you can meet people. I think you're right that when you're out doing things to help people, the conversation happens. What else do you do? Like, what else do you do other than, help out and volunteer and so being involved in community, whether, all sorts of different ways, being able to use that. I bet that's a good TEDx talk. Have you done a few TEDx talks before?
No, I've only just done the one. I'll email you the link.
Great.
And it was just, it was a really special experience. And I'm so grateful that I was able to talk about my time with the pageantry, because I think a lot of people don't realize, with the pageantry and with these systems, these women, they have a public service platform that they work on. And it's a lot more than just, the photo shoots and some red carpet stuff. It's really just like anything, right? Just like real estate, you get out what you put into it. And I knew that I wanted to have a very impactful experience, and I did. I mean, I'm so grateful for that time in my life, and to this day, I still have amazing business contacts and relationships that I built, again because I was volunteering my time.
Yeah, volunteer to create those relationships. So, your first year in real estate, or going back to your first year or two, how many transactions did you do your first year?
So my first year, I did just under 30 transactions.
Wow, that's a really big first year.
Yeah, it was a really, really hectic first year. And I teamed up with, at the time, my former real estate partner. I had a previous real estate partner before Kathy, that I worked on as a team at Sotheby's. And it was great because at that time in my life, I was already an entrepreneur. I had started Sin City Cupcakes. Back in 2012, Liquid and Lace had just gotten started, my e-commerce brand. And then here I am saying, hey, I've got this pipeline of business and clients. I should also be getting some of that in real estate, right? So I did that. And it worked because I knew that I needed to team up with a full-time broker, because I didn't have the bandwidth or the time or the energy to commit to it full-time. So I approached a colleague of mine and I said, I've got a great pipeline of business. I have clients that want to work with me and want me to sell their multi-million dollar houses. I don't have the full-time time and bandwidth that I want to dedicate to it. So can we team up? I'll split everything with you 50-50 and let's work everything together. And that's what we did.
Yeah, what a way to grow what's smart too. It was smart to know your limitations at the beginning and say, hey, I have all this opportunity, but I can't really fulfill it. So can you help me fulfill it? And you didn't really know real estate too much yet. So it was
I didn't. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like get that experience, right? Team up with someone who has more experience than you.
Yeah. So if you were going to give advice to people in their first year, so early real estate agents, what were some of the things that you learned during that first year that that maybe you were surprised or just that if you could go back and tell yourself now you would?
Number one, lean on your colleagues. Yes, of course, real estate is competitive and certainly in the luxury market, very, very competitive. But if you approach your transactions and your client relationships with an abundance mindset, you are going to attract the same type of clients and colleagues who also have that abundance mindset. And so they're going to be down to collaborate with you. So don't be scared to lean on your colleagues and say, look, I'm in my first year. I'm hustling. I'm reading everything that I possibly can. Here's a hurdle that I'm experiencing. How would you handle this? And you will grow organic relationships and build mentors around you and have that support system around you. So don't be scared to lean on your colleagues, number one. And number two, read, consume as much as you can. I was reading Inman, I was reading Wall Street Journal, Mansion Global. I joined every real estate group on Facebook that I could find. Bigger Pockets, obviously for investors, lab coat agents. I mean, I joined every group that you could possibly find just so I could read content. I could read posts and people across the country were posting about whatever hurdle they were going through with their client, right? And people were chiming in and providing insight. Oh, that happened to me 6 months ago. Here's what I did. And that's a phenomenal way to learn because you haven't experienced it yet.
Yeah, that is some great advice. I mean, the two big pieces there, right? Ask for help for the people that are around, because you would be amazed. I came from an industry where it was people didn't really want to share their secrets, right? Like you kind of needed that as your step up. If you found out a good way to get your job done, you weren't always going to tell people the secret, right? It was like job security. People used to think about job security a lot. And so, but real estate or investing in real estate, it is a lot of growth mindset stuff that people are less afraid of that if you ask. Or if you do ask somebody they want to help you, then maybe the next person won't be. That's how you create relationships. But most people that are really successful love telling people how they got there, and they love kind of bringing people under their wing to help them. So being able to ask and then consuming content, I love that. We do a weekly podcast. It's a state of the market where we take a lot of the Inman articles that are out and kind of dissect them, try to help them out there. But people, should be reading all those Inman articles, listening to podcasts, doing the stuff, getting learning as much as they can about real estate. About you get to see, especially right now, it's been such an interesting time. What has it been like in Las Vegas when it comes to COVID and real estate? So around most of the U.S., we've heard really high demand, lots of houses. The agents that are successful are incredibly successful this year. The agents that are having a tough time are having a really tough time. Are you seeing any shifts because of the hospitality industry stuff right now, or has it been anything to keep an eye on?
Yeah, so of course, a lot of demand, just like the rest of the country. We have low inventory and high demand because specifically here in Nevada, this is a state that has no state income tax. We have no corporate tax on the first 4 million of revenue in your company. So this is a place where people are fleeing high tax states like California, Hawaii, New York, but California in particular. California's always been a feeder market for us, but this year in particular, I mean, droves. People are moving here in droves. So that's been wonderful for the real estate market. There has been a rise in rental defaults in apartments, which has been interesting to read about. So on the commercial side, which Kathy, my partner, she heads up the commercial division that we have. With that, it's interesting because I think we will see some really great high value commercial pickups that will emerge maybe in the next 12 to 18 months. But when it comes to single family residences, the market is very, very strong. And the rental market is very, very strong, again, because of people moving in from California. I mean, we just had, we saw a situation recently where you had an owner decided to rent out. He bought another home, decided to rent out this beautiful 7,000 square foot house, guard gated community, put it out for rent at $10,000 a month. And within the first week that it was publicly available for rent, he had 3 potential tenants call, all from California, all wanting to rent it sight unseen. And there was no negotiation on the monthly rate. I mean, they were just like, great, I'll take it.
So interesting. Maybe a month or two ago, I was talking about kind of the 2 different recoveries and how at the high end of the market, the finance industry has very low unemployment, right? Almost like so they're the ones that are buying houses and really upsizing, or the people renting those $10,000 properties. Sure. And so much of the unemployment is in the hospitality industry. So much of the people that work in hospitality do rent apartments. Yep. And so it makes sense that the defaults in apartments are going up. We're just starting to see defaults in single family rentals in Texas start to go up compared, since March. We've had the highest occupancy we've had ever. When COVID kind of hit in March, April, we were probably 90% occupied. Now we're 99% occupied on 350 houses. But we're just now starting to see some defaults, some people starting to slip on rent for the first time since COVID kind of hit. Are there any talks in Las Vegas about extra stimulus to help renters and things that might, impact that? Or what do you think the long-term opportunities are?
Well, so we are seeing some state offered programs because, Nevada, like many states, picked up a lot of money out of the COVID bills that were passed by Congress. So we are seeing some state-specific and also county-specific and city-specific renter relief programs. But frankly, they're really targeted towards those that are most in need. If you are, kind of middle income, it's tough because you may not be able to qualify, because what we're seeing with kind of middle income renters is that maybe one person in the house has still been able to hold on to at least a part-time job because they can work remotely. And these are households that have Wi-Fi, things like that oftentimes we take for granted, right? We complain about the speed of the Wi-Fi in our house, right? And yet there are households out there that do not have internet access, don't have Wi-Fi. And so that's where we're seeing the most need. So you are seeing some programs targeted towards that. But, unfortunately, I think, in my just personal opinion, the best way we can help the community is by allowing people to get back to work. We can't, be choosing the winners and losers of, well, this business is essential, so it can stay open, and this one's not essential, so you have to close. Let people work, let them work safely, and put them in a position where they can try to provide for themselves and their family.
Yeah. So, and it's really interesting to hear what's happening in different markets. And internet is such a utility now, right? It seems like it needs to be protected, just like water and electric is protected, because I can't imagine functioning without it in this new world. In this new world we're in, it's not an option anymore to be able to just, to succeed. It's kind of it's definitely more important than having a TV. You have a bunch of different businesses. So when I look at your website, you've got, you said the first couple that you started, Sin City Cupcakes, Liquid and Lace, Shipped Las Vegas. You're a published author in Forbes. You even ran for Congress in the 4th district in Nevada. So right now, this year we've been talking to all of our real estate agent listeners, and we've been focusing on how to succeed as an agent, but then also how to diversify. Because one of the things that we learned this year was maybe you need to have a backup plan. You need to have some other businesses, some other options. What advice would you give to somebody that is a full-time real estate agent, that wants to be a full-time real estate agent, how they can shuffle and do more than one thing, how they could actually start a different business or be involved in another business? Like, how do you balance your time? How do you have 10 different businesses that you work in?
Yeah. So for me, my portfolio, my business portfolio is very diversified. And I don't do it alone. So I guess that's the magic sauce, right? I have strong operational partners in every single one of my ventures, including real estate. We have strong partners and strong teams. And be diversified, right? Just because you are a real estate professional doesn't mean that your next venture or your side hustle or whatever else has to be in real estate. It can be tangential, or it could be totally unrelated, that's okay. If there's anything I've learned this year in 2020 is that being diversified has been an absolute blessing because you can't predict what will happen. So what you need to figure out, dear listener, is what are you good at? What are your core strengths that are translatable and that you can plug and play into any other business? And so that's what you bring. That's the value you bring. And you team up with someone, you say, hey, I want to start a shipping store. Here are the 4 things I'm really good at. I don't know anything about shipping, but I do know about customer service and setting up processes and, da 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 da, right? And then you team up with an operations partner, and then all of a sudden you have a business.
Yeah. That is some really, really good advice, right? The not doing it alone. It's so easy to get overwhelmed. It's so easy for a new agent to be listening to this and saying, oh, I can't relate to Lisa. She's got all these different businesses. And I'm just an agent, and being able to say, no, the way that you've grown, it's not that you are actively doing 10 different businesses all by yourself. It's that you have
no way.
Right. No way. Right. You have partners, you have people. I love that too, that you're like, hey, I kind of want to get into this business. But I'm good at this, and this. I'm good at, but I don't know what it's about. Can you help me run it? That was one of the things, the recent interview we did with Cody Sanchez, she was talking to people about how to buy new businesses, see what's out there.
Amazing.
Yeah. This weekend I was looking through business, like this, a website, right? Like Biz Buy Sell, like going through like what businesses are for sale in Austin, Texas, just to see what's out. And there were some really interesting ones. And I was thinking, oh, there's some good cash flow in this. Oh, this is a business that I think is going to survive like this new world that we're in and maybe even thrive. This could be a good opportunity right now, or this is a business that's going to turn around soon. And then the next thing to think about has to be, and I wasn't thinking about, you start to go, yeah, but I can't really run all these businesses, right? But your answer is saying, no, you can find something like that and go, hey, I think this tanning business is a good investment. I can work on the finance and I can do this, but I need somebody else that's actually going to run the day to day.
Yep.
And then it gets a lot less overwhelming. All of a sudden you go, okay, I've got a little bit of savings. I can do that. Very cool stuff. So back to real estate for a second. So now in 2020, if somebody is a new agent trying to get deals, right? So they're trying to get deals either as a buyer agent or listing agent. What do you think the best way for them to go find these, to get these new relationships now, like to actually get a listing or, get a buyer? Any ideas?
Work your sphere of influence. I see so many people wasting money on Facebook ads and Zillow Premier and like all this kind of stuff. And, when you're filtering through, that takes time and effort to filter through all the crap inbounds that you're going to get. Work your sphere of influence. Utilize social media if you don't already, but something as simple, get out your phone and go through the last 100 people that you have text messaged with.
Okay.
And you text them and you say, hey, hope you had a great Thanksgiving, whatever's timely, right? Hey, hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I just wanted to share, it was an exciting win with you, share something that I just sold this house and blah, 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 whatever you have to say, right? And you say, please let me know if you know anyone that's buying, selling, or renting. And you just give them a quick, simple ask, even if they're out of state. And here's why that works, because your friend who lives out of state, has a cousin who's got a girlfriend that's moving to your city. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it always works that way. It's always sphere of influence, and people want to work with someone they know. They want to work with someone they know, even if it's from a friend of a friend. That's still a warmer contact than Google, right? So use that sphere of influence and you'll see the momentum happen really quick, because once you get 1, 2, 3 positive responses out of the 100 people that you're contacting, by the way, it's a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
It will start to create a snowball effect. So do that. Go through your phone, text message the last 100 people that you just text messaged with, and share a win with them and help them keep you top of mind.
I love that. I love that advice. That is such an actionable thing that all of our listeners can do today. And you can even put it in your calendar to do that every 3 months or every 6 months. It's such a good point that your sphere of influence, it's just reminding them of what you're doing, because someone is going to post on it, even if you're right, in a different state, they're going to see a friend on Facebook saying, hey, I'm moving over to there.
Yep. It happens all the time.
By the way, my friend's an agent out there. Let me know if you want to introduce me. I was amazed, like last month on Facebook, a friend of mine just saying like, hey, I need a real estate agent that's going to list my house for me. And I just need someone that's going to make sure to call me back. And like 4 days later on Facebook, he said, all right, I still haven't had an agent tell me that they can, list my house for me and provide good service. And I was like mind blown.
Yeah.
Like that is still so crazy that happens out there. For whatever reason it does happen, but that's a good example that even if it was somebody's friend of a friend of a friend, they're like, well, hey, since you asked for a week and nobody, why didn't you ask my friend of a friend? The going through those top 100 and saying, hey, happy Thanksgiving. Here's a win. By the way, just if you have anybody looking at a house, and I've seen that a lot, and it is truly a numbers game. Maybe 90 of the 100 are just going to say happy Thanksgiving back. And and agents are maybe sometimes embarrassed. They go, hey, I don't want to, drill it down their throats that, hey, I'm a real estate agent. But it is important because there are people out there saying, hey, I need an agent, and people aren't responding. And that, as unbelievable as that is, that's happening in 2020 in the age of social media and the age of people wanting to find new leads and new listings. So I love that piece of advice. Lisa, this has been a lot of great info for our listeners, the really fun stuff. I'm sure that a lot of them are going to want to go learn more about you. They're going to want to find that TED Talk that you did. We'll put that in the show notes after you send that over to me. But if they want to figure out more about what you're doing, get to follow up, what is the best way for them to see some of the other stuff they're doing or reach out to you if they have questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all under Lisa Song Sutton. Please feel free to reach out and connect. I utilize social media as part of my daily routine. And I post a lot of, not only what I'm doing in day to day, but I also try to share as much advice and actionable tips as possible. So please feel free to connect with me there. And I would love to just connect in general. I mean, I think anytime, going back to that abundance mindset, anytime that you can, continue to share and collaborate and kind of cross promote, that's when everything, is going to work out. That's when we all win, right? Rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I'm sure people will be reaching out to you. It might be about Christie's. It might be about real estate. It might be about trying to start that business and how to choose the right partner. But Lisa, this has been super valuable. I'm so happy for you that you're doing so well in real estate out there. And what a cool story to get to see, the transition that you've made and how you've done it. So thanks for coming on and being part of Real Estate Rockstars.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Real Estate Rockstars, come back in a few days. We'll have some more on. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and we will talk to you later. Thank you.